Derek, 2 million in district contracts, and that vendor was registered using your own email.
I oversaw hundreds of contracts, and every award went through the proper.
Once is a conflict of interest, twice is a pattern. Derek Langford did this more than 200 times across 5 years and left his own email address on every single company registration.
The company belonged to you the whole time. You were sitting on both sides.
I am not discussing any contract awards without my attorney present, and I mean right.
He would not get the chance to walk out of that building as a superintendent. Within 72 hours, federal agents would seize his laptop, his hard drives, and a 5-year paper trail tying him to a shell company that had quietly billed the district more than $2 million, 43 contracts, 11 schools, 1 email account that registered every single invoice. And the man who approved them all was the man who owned the company being paid. Before we go any further, I have to ask you something. How many people in your kid's school district could move $2 million without a single board member catching it? Drop your guess in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. We cover cases like this every single week, and they don't get the coverage they deserve. Derek Eugene Langford was born in 1969 in a small industrial town in Northeast Ohio, the second of 4 children in a family that lived 3 blocks from the high school where his mother worked as an attendance clerk. His father drove a delivery truck for a regional bakery and worked the same route for 31 years. The Langford household was strict about 2 things. Schoolwork came first, and nobody, under any circumstances, took something that did not belong to them. His mother kept a chalkboard in the kitchen that listed every child's chores and every child's grades. Derek was the boy who finished his homework before dinner and read library books by flashlight after lights out. His 4th grade teacher wrote on a report card that he was unusually attentive to detail and shows an early gift for organizing information. His mother taped that report card to the refrigerator and left it there for the rest of the school year. He graduated from Buckeye Valley State in 1991 with a degree in elementary education and a teaching certificate. His first job was at Roosevelt Elementary in the same district where his mother had worked the front office. Starting salary was $22,400 a year. He taught 4th grade for 6 years. Colleagues from that era remember him as quiet, professional, and almost obsessive about lesson plans. He kept a binder for every unit, color-coded by subject, with backup copies in his desk drawer. In 1997, he completed a master's degree in educational leadership through a night program at a state university. He was promoted to assistant principal at a middle school the following fall. 2 years later, he was running his own building. By 34, he was a high school principal in a neighboring district, overseeing a staff of 73 teachers and an annual operating budget of just over $4 million. His performance reviews from this period read like a recruitment brochure. Exceptional fiscal stewardship. Builds consensus among diverse stakeholders. Demonstrates rare integrity in difficult financial decisions. One superintendent who supervised him wrote that Langford was the kind of administrator a board prays will apply for the top job someday. That superintendent retired in 2008. 2 years later, Derek Langford applied for that exact job. He got it. At age 41, he was named superintendent of the Cedar Run Unified School District, 11 schools, just under 6,000 students, a general fund of approximately $58 million a year. The local paper ran a profile on him the week he started, with a photograph of him sitting at the conference table in the district office, hands folded, smiling. The headline read, "Hometown Educator Returns to Lead Cedar Run." His mother clipped it and put it in the same drawer where she kept the 4th grade report card. He was married, 2 children, both still in middle school when he took the superintendent's job. He coached his son's recreation league basketball team for 3 seasons. He served on the board of a local literacy nonprofit. He spoke at Rotary lunches about protecting every dollar the taxpayers entrust to us. Every public appearance reinforced the same message. He was a steward. The money belonged to the children. His only job was to protect it. For the first 3 years in the role, by every available measure, he did exactly that. A public school district is not a single business. It is dozens of small businesses operating under one tax identification number. Cedar Run Unified ran 11 school buildings, a transportation depot, a central office, a maintenance shop, a food services warehouse, and an athletic complex. Each of those facilities needed contractors, HVAC repair, roof maintenance, asbestos abatement, parking lot resurfacing, boiler inspection, security camera installation, floor stripping and waxing. Every one of those line items was a separate contract, and every contract eventually crossed the superintendent's desk for final approval. The procurement system at Cedar Run looked, on paper, like every other public school procurement system in the state. Contracts under $25,000 could be approved administratively, which meant the superintendent or his designee could sign off without a board vote. Contracts between $25,000 and $100,000 required 3 documented quotes. Contracts above $100,000 required a formal request for proposals, posted publicly for at least 14 days, with bid openings recorded in the board minutes. That structure was supposed to protect the public. In practice, it created 3 gigantic loopholes, and Derek Langford knew every one of them. The first loophole was the threshold itself. A contract for $24,900 required no quotes and no board approval. A contract for $100,000 exactly required no formal RFP. A skilled administrator could split a large project into smaller change orders, each one falling neatly under a threshold, each one approved without oversight. The second loophole was the bidding process for mid-tier contracts. 3 documented quotes sounded like competition. It was not. The administrator collecting the quotes decided which vendors got invited to bid. He decided what specifications the bid called for. He decided how long vendors had to respond. If 2 of the 3 quotes came from companies that did not really want the work, the third quote won by default. The third loophole was the invoice approval process. Once a contract was awarded, the contractor billed the district for the work. Those invoices were reviewed by a facilities supervisor, who initialed them and forwarded them to the central office. The central office cut checks based on the supervisor's initials. Nobody walked through the buildings to confirm the work had actually been completed at the quality and quantity billed. The Board of Education was supposed to be the backstop. 7 elected members, meeting twice a month, reviewing the consent agenda, asking questions, demanding answers. In theory, they read every contract before it was approved. In practice, they read summaries. They trusted the superintendent. They trusted the auditors. They trusted that 38 years of teachers and administrators above them had built a system that worked. For a man who had spent 20 years studying how the system functioned from the inside, every one of those loopholes was a door he already had the key to. Meridian Facilities Solutions, LLC, was incorporated in the state of Ohio on March 14, 2013. The articles of organization listed a registered agent in a small town 40 miles outside the district, an attorney who handled dozens of small business filings every month. The listed manager was a man named Curtis Langford. Curtis was Derek Langford's cousin, an out-of-work former HVAC technician who agreed, in exchange for a small monthly retainer, to put his name on the paperwork. Curtis did not run Meridian. Curtis did not work at Meridian. Curtis did not even fully understand what Meridian did. Meridian's office was a rented mailbox at a private parcel store in a strip mall in the next county over. Its phone number was answered by a remote receptionist service. Its bank account was opened with a registered agent's address and a separate post office box for statements. The email account used to register every single corporate filing was Meridian F's Ohio Agmail. Comstirads. That email account was set up on a Thursday night in February of 2013 on a personal laptop from the wireless network at Derek Langford's home. The first Meridian contract was approved on June 11, 2013. $24,700 for a facilities condition assessment of the district's 3 oldest elementary schools. The contract fell $300 under the threshold that would have required competing quotes. The deliverable was a 41-page report describing the condition of roofs, HVAC systems, electrical panels, and plumbing in the 3 buildings. The report was real. It was professionally formatted. It contained accurate photographs of mechanical rooms and detailed observations about equipment age. The work was performed by a subcontracted engineering firm that billed Meridian $11,400 for the project. Meridian billed the district $24,700. The markup was the model. Meridian would identify a need, propose a solution, secure the contract, hire actual workers to do the actual work, and bill the district double or triple what the underlying labor had cost. The first year, Meridian invoiced Cedar Run for $146,000 across 6 small contracts. The second year, it was $382,000. By the fourth year, Meridian was billing the district more than $700,000 annually across a rolling portfolio of contracts and change orders. The escalation was deliberate, and it followed a pattern. Whenever a board member or auditor flagged Meridian as a recurring vendor, Langford answered the question himself. He would explain in committee that Meridian had been competitively selected, that their pricing was favorable, that their work quality was consistently excellent. He would produce documentation showing competing quotes from other vendors. Those competing vendors existed. They were real companies. But 2 of them were companies Langford knew well enough to ask for non-competitive courtesy bids, padded high enough that Meridian would always win. The scheme also relied on legitimate intermediaries who never knew they were part of it. A small architectural firm did real subcontracted design work for Meridian and was paid promptly. A regional cleaning company performed real floor stripping work under a Meridian master agreement. A licensed roofer replaced shingles on an elementary school under a Meridian change order. Every one of those subcontractors did the job they had been hired to do. They had no reason to ask who Meridian's actual owner was. They got paid, they moved on, and they would later be among the first people the federal agents interviewed. The money came home in pieces, never in obvious lumps. Meridian paid Curtis Langford a salary of about $3,600 a month, money Curtis kept. Meridian paid a consulting fee to a second cousin in Tennessee, who deposited it and wire transferred a portion back to a personal account belonging to Derek Langford's wife. Meridian made principal and interest payments on a private mortgage held by a third relative, a mortgage that turned out to be on a lake property whose true beneficial owner was Derek himself. Over 5 years, federal investigators would eventually trace just under $1,100,000 in Meridian disbursements that ended in Langford's pocket. Nobody noticed. Nobody checked. The superintendent was a steward. The money belonged to the children. The system worked. Yolanda Pritchard was elected to the Cedar Run School Board in November of 2017. She was a certified public accountant, a partner at a small regional firm, a mother of 3 children who had all gone through the district. She ran on a single issue: financial transparency. She wanted line item budgets. She wanted vendor lists posted on the district website. She wanted board members to read the contracts before voting on them, not just the summaries. For her first 8 months on the board, she made a habit of reading every consent agenda packet, cover to cover. The packets were thick, 300 to 400 pages, twice a month. Most of her colleagues skimmed them in the parking lot before meetings. Yolanda read them at her kitchen table on the weekend, pen in hand, with the district vendor list open on her laptop next to her. In July of 2018, she was reviewing the consent agenda for an upcoming meeting. There were 41 vendor contracts on the list, ranging from yearbook publishing to playground mulch. 2 of them stopped her. The first was a Meridian Facilities Solutions invoice for $68,000 in HVAC inspection work across 4 schools. The second was a contract from a separate vendor, Highbridge Compliance Services, for asbestos air quality consulting in the same 4 schools. The 2 contracts were from different companies, but they listed the same post office box mailing address. Yolanda Pritchard underlined both lines and made a note in the margin. The next day, she pulled 5 years of board-approved vendor reports off the district website and built a spreadsheet. She sorted vendors by mailing address. She sorted vendors by registered agent. She cross-referenced corporate filings against the Secretary of State's business search. What she found made her stop typing for a long time and stare out her kitchen window. Meridian Facilities Solutions, High Bridge Compliance Services, Cedar Ridge Property Consulting, and Lakeside Vendor Group all shared the same registered agent attorney. 2 of them shared the same private parcel mailbox. 3 of them had been incorporated in the same 6-week window in early 2013. All 4 had done business with Cedar Run Unified. Together, they had received slightly more than $2 million in district payments over 5 years. She did not go to the superintendent. She did not go to the board chair. She went to the district's external auditor and asked, off the record, whether there was a procedure for an individual board member to request a forensic financial review of a specific vendor relationship. The auditor told her there was. He also told her, very carefully, that if she had a specific concern, she should consider speaking with the county prosecutor's office before she filed anything formally. Yolanda Pritchard left that meeting and drove directly to the county prosecutor's office. She had her spreadsheet with her. She had printouts of the corporate filings. She had a 1-page memo she had written that morning. The intake attorney looked at the spreadsheet for about 90 seconds, then asked her to wait while he got a supervisor. The supervisor called the FBI's white-collar squad the next morning. We're about to get into how the investigation actually closed the loop on this one. If this kind of breakdown is why you watch this channel, take a second and subscribe. We do this every week, and the cases that don't make national news are the ones we go deepest on. The federal case file opened in August of 2018 under the designation Public Corruption, Local Education Authority. It was assigned to Special Agent Karen Whitlock, a 13-year veteran of the Bureau's white-collar division who had previously worked municipal corruption cases in Cleveland and Toledo. Whitlock pulled records, bank records, corporate records, state tax filings, vendor invoices, email metadata for every domain associated with the 4 shell companies Yolanda Pritchard had flagged. The first break came from the registered agent attorney. He was not part of the scheme, and he had no knowledge of who actually controlled the 4 companies. But he had records. He had the email addresses used to communicate with him during incorporation. 3 of the 4 companies had been registered through different email addresses, but every one of those email addresses had been opened from the same residential internet protocol address in the late winter and early spring of 2013. That IP address belonged to a Comcast residential account. The account was registered to Derek E. Langford at his home address in Cedar Run. The second break came from the bank. Meridian's operating account at a regional bank in Marisburg, Ohio, had been opened by Curtis Langford in person on April 2, 2013. The signature card listed Curtis as the sole authorized signer. But the bank's customer due diligence file included a copy of the original account opening packet, and on the second page of that packet was a line where Curtis had been asked to list the beneficial owners of the company. Curtis had written one name in pencil and erased it. The pencil indentation was still visible. The name beneath the erased pencil was Derek Langford. The third break, the one that ended the case, came from the Gmail account itself. Subpoenaed records from Google showed that Meridian F's Ohio Ogmail .com had been created on February 7, 2013, from a MacBook with a specific hardware identifier. That same MacBook had been used on the same network during the same week to log into a personal Gmail account belonging to Derek Langford and to update a doctoral program enrollment portal listed under his name. The 2 accounts had been logged in concurrently from the same machine on more than 400 separate occasions over the next 5 years. Investigators also recovered text messages between Derek and his cousin Curtis. The text messages were not subtle. Derek, May 14, 2014. Need you at the bank tomorrow morning. They want a signature for the new line. Don't ask any questions, just sign where they tell you. Curtis. Cool. How much they paying me this month? Derek. 36, same as last month. And stop texting me from your real number about this. Curtis. Sorry, won't happen again. Derek. October 9th, 2016. The High Bridge invoice goes out next week. Use the same template. Don't itemize. Just put consulting and oversight services. Curtis. Got it. Derek, March 22, 2017. Pritchard is asking questions in the Budget Committee. Slow the next invoice down by 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. Don't change anything else. The smoking gun was an email Derek had sent to himself in 2015 from the Meridian Gmail to his personal Gmail. The subject line read, Year-End Summary. The body of the email contained a spreadsheet listing every Cedar Run contract Meridian had been awarded that year, every subcontractor cost, and a column labeled Net to D. The total at the bottom of that column was $241,800. It was a profit and loss statement he had written for himself, on his own behalf, summarizing the money he had personally taken out of a school district. Federal agents arrived at the Cedar Run Unified School District Central Office at 7:48 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in February of 2019. They came in 2 unmarked vehicles. They did not bring lights or sirens. The receptionist had not yet unlocked the front door for the public. Special Agent Whitlock identified herself and asked to be taken directly to the superintendent's office. Derek Langford was at his desk. He was on the phone with the head of food services about a delivery schedule for a snow day relocation. He looked up when Whitlock entered with 2 other agents and the district's general counsel. The conversation that followed was recorded on Whitlock's body-worn camera, per bureau policy. Whitlock. Mr. Langford, I'm Special Agent Karen Whitlock with the FBI. We have a search warrant for these premises and for your personal residence. We also have a warrant for your arrest. I need you to step away from your desk and put your phone down. Langford. I'm sorry. Can I see the warrant? There must be a mistake. Whitlock. You'll see the paperwork in a moment, sir. I need you to stand up and step back from the desk. Langford. I don't understand what this is about. I have a board meeting tonight. Whitlock. Sir, I'm going to ask you one more time to step away from the desk. We can do this calmly. Langford. This is Meridian, isn't it? This is about Meridian. Whitlock paused. The other agent in the room later wrote in his contemporaneous notes that this was the first moment Langford's posture changed. His shoulders dropped. He took one step back from the desk on his own. Langford. I want to speak with my attorney before I say another word. Whitlock. That is absolutely your right, sir. Please put your hands behind your back. He did not resist. He did not argue. He was walked out of the building in handcuffs at 8:11 a.m., past the receptionist who had just unlocked the front door, past the secretary who had just brought his morning coffee, past a wall of framed photographs of him at ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings and Teacher of the Year ceremonies going back 9 years. Those were the last words he spoke to his colleagues as a superintendent. The federal grand jury indictment was returned 3 weeks later. 28 counts in total. Wire fraud, honest services fraud, theft from a program receiving federal funds, money laundering, conspiracy. The state attorney general's office followed with a separate indictment under Ohio law, charging conflict of interest violations, theft in office, and tampering with records. Cedar Run Unified accepted federal Title I dollars, which meant the same conduct could be prosecuted at both the federal and state level. Langford retained Philip Donnelly, a respected defense attorney from Columbus who had handled public corruption cases for 2 decades. Donnelly's initial strategy was that Meridian had performed real work, that the district had received real value, and that the criminal case was overreaching what was at most an undisclosed conflict of interest. He argued in pre-trial motions that the government could not prove specific intent to defraud because the underlying services were genuine. That argument died when the prosecution introduced the Net to D spreadsheet. The trial began in the federal courthouse in Akron on a Monday morning in late September of 2020. It lasted 11 days. The government called 23 witnesses. Yolanda Pritchard testified for almost 3 hours about her spreadsheet, about her meeting at the prosecutor's office, about the moment she had realized that 4 different vendor names had been routing money in the same direction. The registered agent attorney testified about the email accounts. A Google Records custodian authenticated the IP logs. Curtis Langford testified under an immunity agreement and described in flat, monotone sentences that he had been paid to sign documents he did not read for a company he did not run, that did work he did not understand. The single most damaging witness was a forensic accountant named Dean Chu, who walked the jury through every transaction, every wire transfer, every shell entity, every relative whose bank account had been used as a pass-through. He projected the net-to-D spreadsheet onto a screen and read each line of it out loud. The total at the bottom, the running multi-year total that Derek Langford had calculated for himself, was $1,143,200. The defense called 4 witnesses, all of them character witnesses. None of them disputed the financial evidence. The jury returned a verdict on the 12th day, guilty on all 28 federal counts. The state trial followed in February of 2021, guilty on all 6 state counts. At sentencing, the judge, the Honorable Thomas E. Reardon of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, addressed Langford directly for almost 10 minutes before pronouncing sentence. He spoke without notes. "Mr. Langford, you stood in front of this community for nearly a decade and asked them to trust you with their children and with their money. You used the language of stewardship. You used the language of service. You spoke at Rotary clubs and at PTA meetings about protecting every dollar entrusted to you. And the entire time, you were operating a parallel business whose only function was to transfer those dollars into your own pocket. This is not a case of a public servant who made a single bad decision. This is not a case of poor judgment. This is a case of a sustained, deliberate, multi-year scheme that required you to lie to your board, lie to your auditors, lie to your colleagues, and lie to the parents and the children whose interests you were sworn to protect. You did not steal from a faceless institution. You stole from the schools that taught your own children. You stole from the teachers who trusted you to fight for their resources. You stole from a community that elected you to be exactly what you publicly claimed to be. The court takes no pleasure in this sentence, but the court also takes no comfort in your record of prior service. That record made this conduct possible. It is, in many ways, the most aggravating fact in this case. The federal sentence was 120 months, 10 years. The state sentence ran partially concurrent. Restitution was ordered in the amount of $2,186,000. Langford was permanently barred from holding any administrative position in a public school in the state of Ohio. He was also ordered to forfeit the lake property and a portion of his pension. He self-surrendered on a Wednesday morning to the Federal Correctional Institution at Elkton, Ohio, a low-security facility about an hour from where he had been born. He was assigned to a unit job in the prison's general administrative office, where he was paid 12 cents an hour to file paperwork for an institution he no longer controlled. His projected release date is the spring of 2030. He will be 65 years old. Cedar Run Unified spent the next 18 months rewriting its procurement policies. Every contract above $5,000 now requires a documented disclosure form signed by the superintendent, attesting to no financial interest in the vendor. Every vendor must be verified against the state corporate database before payment. Every board member receives a quarterly report of all vendors paid more than $10,000 in the prior 90 days. Yolanda Pritchard was re-elected to the board in 2021 and serves as the chair of the Finance Committee. The man who built that fraud from his own home wireless network, who wrote himself an annual profit and loss statement, who used his own family members as paper signatories, will be released from federal prison the year his grandchildren start middle school. This case was infuriating, but the next case on your screen right now is something else entirely. Click it now. Click.